Hey guys, it's One At The Tiger, and I'm bringing you a race on Cape Ring North. And look at my Civic; it looks pretty sweet, huh? So that Miata right there. Oh my gosh, so it brings me back to my teal Miata days. So my last video had a Ford Mustang in it, and I compared and contrast the Honda Civic Type R, which I'm driving right now, with the Ford Mustang, and this got me thinking about my own racing history. And I do have one. It's not a professional racing history or anything like that. It's actually, to be honest, it's an illegal racing history. Nothing exciting, but it's just things that I did when I was, 18, 19, and 20 years old. Here in San Diego, back in early 2000s, about, I don't know, I guess it would have been 2000, maybe sooner, to be honest. I got into street racing. Basically, it's drag racing. When I was 18, right out of high school, excuse me, a really good friend of mine, Brian, he and my brother, they're several years older than I am, and they would always race and they'd always do crazy shit. Like my brother, he has a '95 Ford Mustang that he bought back in, it must have been 2000 thereabouts, and at the time, Brian had a Integra. Not unlike that one I'm just passing right here. And they used to like to race each other, and obviously Dominic's Mustang would beat out Ryan's Integra. But it sparked this interest in me that, when you were next to your friend, wherever you were, you go for it, you take a little race. And they used to do some crazy shit. I mean, really crazy shit. And, okay, this is obviously, I'm learning the track right here because this is a new track. I really enjoy this track, and I really love that oval. I should call it oval. It's a big circle you go through. I've learned on that, if you go up high, you'll see me. You go high, you come in low, you take these guys on the inside, and then I think on this one I stay low, but I've gone high to take guys out, take them out, whatever. So my racing history, I was quite inspired by my brother and my friend Ryan, and when I got out of high school, I had this 2000 Mitsubishi Mirage. It's a little 1.5. It was a 12-cylinder beast. It had less than 100 horsepower, and it had like 100 foot-pounds of torque. So it was by no stretch of the imagination a race car. But it's all I had. And during this time, there was this growing trend of racing anything and everything you could bring out. I remember guys bringing out minivans, Ford Windstars, racing those, and you'd be surprised at how fast the Windstars actually are, because they don't weigh much by comparison to, say, I don't know, something of a comparable size, but they have V6 engines in them. So I had my Mirage. It was this little tiny Mirage, not very fast on its own. I think when they actually had, I think it was like a 17-second car, and so this is when Race Legal came around, and it was, it must have been 2002. Anyways, so Race Legal was created by somebody, I'm not sure. San Diego State, that's right. And it was a way to curb illegal street racing, because, to be honest, street racing in San Diego, I won't call it a problem, because I don't think we were causing a problem, but I'm pretty sure those out there thought we were a problem. Because there were nights you'd go down to Mira Mesa, and there were literally thousands of cars going from one spot to another. The cops knew where all the racing spots were, and it was kind of like a game. We would drive down to, say, KV or Firehouse or GD, and basically a police officer would show up, turn his lights on, everyone would scramble like cockroaches in the light, and we'd go off to the next spot, and it was never discussed where we would go. People would just go. And if you want to talk about crowd mentality, like being able to read each other's thoughts, it was, I don't know, it was really weird. You just knew where to go. You're like, oh, we got busted at KV, let's go to Firehouse, and it was just, or, oh, we're going to go over to GD. It was always like, it seemed, and after a while, you seemed there's like a sort of a reputation. You're like GD, which stands for General Dynamics, and then there was this place called Firehouse because, well, we raced right in front of a firehouse, and You think that wouldn't be the smartest place to race because there was the fire station right there, but they never bothered us. And one time we were down there, and see, here was the thing: is that in December, oh gosh, I remember it so well. I don't remember the year right now. I would have to really think about it, but we were in December. I was doing racing photography for a website called SDSR, San Diego Street Racing.com, and it was a very social website. You know, it was all about the racing and cars and, you know, places to meet up. And, you know, although the people, the moderators of the website condoned the street racing because they had their own, you know, private life or personal, professional lives that they had to protect. And actually, to be honest, that ultimately led to the downfall of the website. And the guy who was running it, he had to, he wanted to disassociate himself with the racing community industry, illegal activities in general. So one time, we were down at Firehouse, and I should go back. There was this whole sting. The San Diego Police Department put out this thing called Dragnet. It was kind of funny. You're like, oh, like the TV show. And so Dragnet, basically their job was to go and curb street racing. And on Kearney Villa Road in San Diego, which was KV, they staged this gigantic block in. They had cops and cop cars and helicopters, and they blocked in God, it was so many cars. I don't even know, because both sides of the road were just filled with cars. And what they were doing is, for about a half hour or so, they were videotaping everyone who was racing. They were getting license plate numbers, they were getting faces, they were getting evidence, basically. And, you know, it probably didn't look good that I was sitting there taking pictures, but I had been taking pictures for a while. So, I mean, if anyone had been a regular at the races, they'd seen me. And I wouldn't say I was known, but people knew of the race photographer. So no one really bothered me. And basically, one night, my buddy Nathaniel and I were driving down, and we got into the race lane at Firehouse, and I didn't really know. I mean, because I'd usually gone and parked somewhere else. So we'd lined up, and my buddy Nathaniel's like, dude, we're in the race lane. I was like, fuck it, we're here. And I don't know, I raced against a Civic or something. I got my ass kicked, but it was a lot of fun. It was an adrenaline rush. And then the reality situation set, and I'm like, holy shit, what if they videotaped me racing? And that started going on in my head. I'm like, oh great, this is not gonna be good. I don't want to be arrested, because they weren't arresting people on the site. Some people were getting arrested at their place of businesses, at home, and charged with exhibition of speed, reckless driving, and it was a big to-do. They were really out to curb street racing, and they essentially did, because not long after Dragnet came around, they really just tore up street racing. There's not much left, and as far as I understand, there's nothing going on anymore. But I got a lot of stories about street racing, so I think I'm going to save those for a different time. Like one of the more vivid stories is a friend of mine, Marty, when he got hit by a car at street races. So I'll definitely tell that on a shorter video. But there's a lot. I did it for a while. You know, I got to a point where my Mirage, it wasn't all that fast, but you know, I put a bottle of nitrous in my car, and it made it suddenly faster. And ultimately, the engine couldn't handle the load, and that blew the motor. And so, being a typical racer, the thing I thought best to do was to get a new engine, of course, but get a bigger one. Why not? So the Mirage, they had two variants. They had a 1.5 liter and a 1.8 liter, which was a 16 valve. So I went out, bought the 1.8 liter. The problem with buying the 1.8 liter is you need everything else that goes with, you know, wiring harnesses, sensors, ECU, and you know, so I did. I went out and spent more money than I should have, and I bought a bigger motor. And the motor turned out to be a flop because it had some sort. I think it had some bearing problems with the crankshaft. Anyways, basically what happened is the motor it started lost power and lack of RPMs, and you know, it was a bad motor. I had it for about several months, and then suddenly there was a problem, and I kind of associated with this. It was a lightweight underdrive pulley. Basically, it was a crank pulley. It was anodized and, you know, lightweight and aluminum and shit, and it replaced the one that I had, which was the factory one. And I think what happened is it threw the motor out of balance and it just wrecked it. That's the only thing I can think about. But I mean, that's kind of another story for another time, because this video is getting ready to wrap up. So anyways, this is my race. I kicked some ass on these guys, and it's a lot of fun. I love this Honda Civic. So I'll talk to you guys in my next race. All right, peace.